Hey guys, this is Deeflash and we're back with another video. This week we're going to take a look at analog and how to use it to create a techie bass line. So what we've got right now is just a MIDI track and machine with a drum beat on machine. So we're going to play that and you can hear it. Okay, so there's not much to it. And this MIDI track we're going to bring analog onto. And we're going to create a new MIDI track, and I'm just going to play it so you can hear what it sounds like, and then we'll start playing with analog. So we're just going to draw a couple notes in. Oops. Okay, so you hear it's nothing special, it's just an analog synthesizer and a basic patch. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our oscillators. And to start out, we've got on oscillator 1 a sawtooth, and on oscillator 2 we're going to change that to a rectangle or a square wave. And let's hear how that sounds already. Okay, that gives us a little bit different sound because you've got the two waves playing with each other and kind of creating a different sound. So now what we're going to do is detune our square wave so that it adds a little bit more width to the sound. I'll bring the volume up a little bit. And we're going to bring our square wave up a little bit. I'm sorry, our sawtooth wave. Okay, so we're getting there. And now what we've got here is our filter. So we've got each oscillator going into filter 1, which you can see here. If you wanted to, you could send them to separate filters. But right now we're going to work with just one. And so we've got filter 1, and we've got our low pass 24 dB filter on. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually turn the filter all the way down so it's closed. And we're going to turn the resonance up, and that's what controls how the frequency resonates throughout the frequency band. So when we play a note, you see this is the resonance. We're going to leave that around 44. And now let's take a look at how, or take a listen to how it sounds. Okay, we're already getting that techie sound, but we're going to play with it a little more and see what we can do. So we're going to look at our amplitude, and we're going to adjust the envelope just a bit. We're going to leave the attack at where it is, because what we're going to do is we're actually going to shape the sound with our filter. So we're going to bring the decay all the way, or down a little bit, and we're going to bring the sustain all the way up. And then we're going to just lower the release slightly. Okay. And now we're going to start to shape it with the filter. So we're going to bring the attack up a little bit. Well, first what we're going to do is bring the envelope up. And what the envelope does is it controls how much the envelope here affects the filter. Now what we're going to do is we're going to increase the attack so you'll hear the filter opening a little slower. So we'll start with a high sound so you can hear it. And we'll bring it down a little bit. And we're going to bring the decay down. Now what the decay does is it's the amount of time it goes from its peak down to its sustain level. So the attack is how fast it goes to its peak. Then it hits the decay, and then it hits its sustain level. We're going to bring the sustain level down just slightly. Now let's hear how that sounds. And then we're going to increase the release, which is how long after you let go of the key that the filter takes to go to full 0, or just back to where the bottom of where it's set. Now that already sounds pretty good for what we're trying to do. We're trying to create somewhat techy sound, and with this basic drums, you kind of got that going already. You could bring the resonance down a little bit. You could even bring the envelope down a little bit. If you want a more percussive sound, you just bring the attack down. We might actually leave that down. Bring the decay up a little bit. Bring the sustain. Alright. Now what we want to do is we don't want to just have the same note playing every time or the same exact sound playing every time we play the note. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the LFO to it. And we could beat sync it, or we could just put it on a on its own rate, like an oscillator. And I think that's what we're going to do, so that we kind of have a different sound going throughout our track. So we're going to bring it up to about 3 Hertz. We're going to apply it to our filter. So we're going to have it close when the LFO is at its peak, and then it's going to come back to where it's currently set. So this is going to actually play against our envelope that we have already. But let's take a look in, or take a listen and see how it sounds. Okay, that works for us. And we can also apply that to our amplitude. Okay, now we've got another loop here that we could also play with, another MIDI loop. Close that. Take this back. There we go. So you can see how playing with just a couple of parameters can add some drama or difference to the sound. So this is your basic analog bass sound. Again, you can tweak it and change it up and really just tear it apart and do whatever you want with it. But this is how you get started. What you can also do is add some glide. So you bring the time down a little bit. And in this loop, you might actually hear it if we pull this out like it was and maybe put a note right around here. And we can actually add another overlap. Wherever the notes overlap is where you'll mostly hear your glide. And let's just make sure that we put this in mono mode, because that's what causes it to glide. When you have these in mono mode, then you have only one note playing at one time. If you have it at 4, you could have up to 4 notes playing at the same time before it needs to glide to the next note. So we'll put it in mono mode, and let's hear how it sounds. Okay, so you can hear how that works. And there's a bunch of other parameters that we can play with. One of the ones that I kind of like is the, where was it? Well, we can turn on vibrato and bring that up, and then turn on our error percentage. And what that does is it adds a little bit of analog style error to the keys. So it'll put it a little bit out of tune, which is what you kind of want, because you don't want it to sound like it's coming from a computer. You want it to sound like it's coming from an analog synthesizer, because that's the original sound that, or the original instruments that made these sounds. And again, we can play with the that's the panning side. Oh, and one other thing we could do to add a little bit of variation is to tweak the pitch mod. And since this is a little bit raspy, we can actually add the sub oscillator. So I'll bring it in right now. And when you do that, you just want to be careful, because you are bringing in some subtones right here that you don't actually need. So what you could do is actually adjust your low cut. I just have an EQ8 here, and we'll bring the low cut up around 60. You can see how I brought it down a little bit over here. Okay, so like I said, this is your start to creating analog bass sounds. Again, experiment with analogs, see what you can do. There's a lot of little parameters that you don't see right when we start off, so definitely click through each area. I mean, we could add a noise oscillator if we wanted to. We can tweak different parts of the oscillators themselves. We could run it through 2 filters, through 2 different amplitude envelopes. We could add another LFO, and then your volume section actually has a lot of little parameters that you could play with also. We could add more error percentage if we want, and we could even turn off the vibrato error percentage. So if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments. If you have any tips, I'd like to see those, so definitely post those in the comments. And if you have any patches that you want to share, also post those in the comments for us to learn from. Make sure you subscribe. We're going to keep going through analog and then move on to some of the others. Electric is a fun one to play with, so we might go into that and create some keyboard sounds and piano sounds. But I look forward to seeing your comments, and thanks for checking out the video.